What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with your host, Kwame Fisher Jones. As always, I am him, the only sports show talk host, the power through the flu, I guess. We can say that. Joined by my man, Chris Franklin of NJ.com. We had to miss a week due to my illness. But, Chris, we back at him. How you feeling, man?
I'm doing all right. You're a gamer, man. You going through when they do the scouting report of when they tell tales and look about this, they're gonna say, you know what, you pull through, you got this stuff. So I'm doing well. I'm
I'm
glad
sure
you're
I
doing
am.
better.
I'm better than Nick Sirianni is. But before we get
Mm.
going, there are a slew of teams right now at 1-2. The Eagles are luckily 2-1. We'll get into the Eagles and Saints, but we'll jump right into the Eagles and Saints. But first, let me set the backdrop because we didn't get to do a show 2 weeks ago. So the Eagles gave the game away against the Atlanta Falcons. We can go back and forth about how we got there, and I texted to you. I said, if Saquon catches the ball, no one talks about it. But the fact of the matter is, throw the ball to a wide receiver. If you're going to throw the ball, let's throw the ball to a wide receiver. Or perhaps if you're going to run, maybe run twice. There's a lot of different ways Sirianni could have went, but it caught his poor decision making cost them that game, along with Saquon's drop, and more importantly, along with Jalen throwing at or Jalen, yeah, Jalen, along with throwing Hurts throwing the interception at the end, playing hero ball. But we fast forward, we get to New Orleans, and the Eagles put on a great show, despite Sirianni trying to find a way to blow the game again. And despite Hurts getting caught in a tough spot on the interception in the red zone, I'm sure we'll talk about that. The Eagles escape with a victory. But my question for you coming out of that game is the obvious thing that everyone's talking about. What's going on with Nick Sirianni right now? With his decision
I want,
making, everything.
you know, I understand week two ones. I don't agree with either one of them, especially that third down call late in the game where I thought you just keep it on the ground. You got one of the best offensive lines there, and you got the best running back in the game right now.
Who you
You
just
can't get if
signed
you
a
can't get three
massive
yards.
contract to, but go ahead.
Yeah, you can't you should be able to get 3 yards behind that line with him in there, but that's all another story. I think this week was more this against the Saints was more of a I'm going to prove that I can do it right, like almost like a hubris type way there. And when you
Hmm.
look at that, it got him caught, and they really this game should not have been this close. It really should
No.
not. The Saints
They
are a
left
good
13
defense.
points on the board.
Yep, and I don't think everybody will be talking about wow, the Eagles are really good. The Eagles should be 3-0. They
Yeah.
really should be 3-0 there. Now you're looking at 2-1, and that those decision makings have already cost you one game, almost cost you a second. And looking at the way this conference is shaping out early on, the difference between a 1 seed and potentially a 6 seed, because if you're not winning the division, it's probably going to be one game. It's that close this year. So I think he was chasing what happened week two or week three. I know they have the analytics team. They invest a lot in analytics, and he has people in the box. Also, not just coaching, but also other ways around that have input in there analytically that they get stuff together. The people in the press box aren't joining the call, but the coaches they set the coaches up with that. So yeah, it's one of those
Yeah.
things where you're looking like he needs to fix it. He needs to fix it quick.
Well, I had a feeling you were going to go much more political with the answer. That's why I let you go first. I always go a different. I go with emotion a little bit more than you, and I feel like Nick Sirianni is trying to hold on to a relation. I feel like Nick Sirianni is refusing to move out of the house after the divorce. I feel like he's refusing to turn his key in at the apartment after the breakup. Like he still believes he's got a chance, and they're in the midst of a bad breakup right now, in my opinion, and what I'm seeing. And the reason why I say this is because if you look at the steps of a bad breakup, the first thing is, well, one party's out before you are. Before you know you're being broken up with, the other party's already decided to break up with you. How did that party get there? Well, the first thing is they start to have doubt in the relationship, or they start to have doubt in what they used to have certainty in, what they used to believe in. Well, what does doubt look like on a football field? It looks like a guy who was known to not make turnovers, all of a sudden has this pesky bad decision making problem. All of a sudden, Jalen Hurts is a turnover machine, and sans the last interception because I feel like that was more Devontae than Jalen. But all of a sudden, Jalen is throwing interceptions. He's making fumbles. He's making bad decisions game in and game out. because he doesn't believe in Sirianni. And then when you dig it a little further back after that doubt, after that uncertainty, then it's, I don't believe in you anymore. So I'm tuning you out. So a team that could go 10-1 decides to tune the guy out that they don't believe in anymore. They've just decided, you know what? I'm through with this relationship. So now they flounder down the stretch. At this point, they need to just call Usher and get those papers signed. Because when you see a guy say, okay, week 2, home opener against a team that probably will be in the playoff hunt, I think you and I both agree with that. It's important that you put your foot on their throat early and you secure that win. In your home opener, when your team lost 99 games in a row to end the season, they had a great win in Brazil. You're in the game despite losing one of your top playmakers in A.J. Brown. And he's still trying to prove that he can rally the troops. The call to Saquon, while it's questionable, the thing that gave me cause for pause was Jalen's interception at the very end. You're down, a field goal wins it for you, if I'm not mistaken. Field goal wins it for you, ends the game. So you don't have a lot of time. You can march down the field. You got one of the greatest kickers in the game today. Why are you throwing that pass? Because you don't believe in your coach. You're trying to play hero ball. That's not Jalen. That's not his personality. That's a guy that's in a bad relationship that wants out. And you think about Vrabel on the sidelines. You think about Belichick on the sidelines. Sirianni has become the proverbial, and I'll throw it back to you after this. You ever heard that phrase in sports? Any sport, doesn't matter. Hockey, baseball, football, doesn't matter. When coaches start listening to the fans, they quickly become one.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said analytics. You say analytics. I say he's listening to the fans. I say, why don't you go for it in 4th down when you're why give the ball back to Cousins, blah, blah, blah. So you get an opportunity and now you're chasing ghosts. Not one, but 2 bad 4th. And then the one right before the half. Help me out with this. Let's say they get that. Let's say they get that 1st down. What's it? One play and then they're one play into the end zone, then you're kicking a field goal anyway?
And probably 4 verts. Everybody probably knows the play being 4 verts. That's probably the play call.
Talking about here? What's he doing? And it's rhetorical, but it's like, what? Think about that for a second, Chris. Like, just sit for a second. Just process this. He's going to go for it on 4th down to go one more play in the end zone and then just kick the field goal anyway.
Well, I think it's probably one of those things. At least with the 4 verts, I would get it in the sense that if you're basically hoping you draw a penalty, a pass interference in the end zone. At least you get the ball to one. Then we would have really seen a decision. And that's one I probably would have lived with. If it was at 4th and 1, the final play at the 1-yard line, again, with that thing, we probably would have saw the tush push, the Snoopy, whatever you want to call it. Seen that same play again, like, oh, there we go. And we probably would have the same conversation, but at least in that situation, I get it. I don't get it when you're that far away and you're trying to build momentum with the points. You already don't, or without your top wide receiver, you want to build momentum.
I was going to get to that. I was going to say that with your point. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, you're good, man. When it comes to that, you're without that, you need to take whatever points you get to continue that momentum and keep putting pressure on the Saints, who were having issues moving the ball at times. Who all of a sudden they're so used to running over everybody, going, the Eagles are beating us, and that's not slight. Like the way they did, the Eagles deserve that way. But it's like when you saw what happened the first 2 weeks, the Eagles are beating us like this, and you put them in their minds, they probably would have folded. And I will agree with C.J. Gardner-Johnson because I've seen this in the past with that Saint team with most of those guys there. They are kind of front runners. When everything's going well, they're great. If they're not, they start staying in the car throws interceptions. So, yeah, you just continually need to put pressure and just let this offense be what it is. And don't take – that's another thing. I'll leave it as far about that. The fact that he basically called the play itself. Kellen Moore, like he said, he took the blame for calling that play. You didn't let Kellen Moore, Kellen probably would have passed it, on his history on that one too. But you took it out of Kellen Moore's hands. But he was in it. He was clicking. He had a feel for the game. Should let him do it.
And just real quick, you mentioned you kind of glossed over this. You're missing AJ Brown. So you're down. You call him a wide receiver. I call him one of their top playmakers. So now everybody's out of position. Goddard's now your second best, second receiver instead of your third option. Devontae's your number one, and I don't think Devontae's limited, but him giving up that interception in the end zone definitely hurts his argument that he's not limited. And then him getting knocked out of the game definitely hurts the argument that he's limited. There's a good chance he's going to miss this week's game. So, it's a lack of awareness. That's what I want to say. It's I'm going to read a sheet instead of playing the game. And you had that team. And now I want to transition real quick to the defense. I believe the defense has arrived. I don't think the Saints struggled. Kirk Cousins did drive down the field, but that was more about coverage. Play, go after them, get there, don't play soft. That happens with teams from time to time. If you watch football long enough, sometimes they'll go into a shell because they don't want to give up the big play. Other than that, they played fairly well defensively against Atlanta. I don't think they played awful. They've gotten better since the Packers game. And I would say each quarter against the Packers, they got better. Now you look at they've got better against the Falcons. I don't think the Saints game was a blip on the radar. I think the defense has arrived. I like the fire. I like the aggression. I like the pride that they took in themselves. You'll be able to tell us. You'll be able to tell us if Darius Slay's going to be out, but I think the defense has arrived. The young corner batting the ball. Like, what are we doing? I thought this was Madden. Like, in Madden, when sometimes the receiver, the cornerback doesn't get the interception, he just hits him in the helmet. Like, oh, you have pick six. And I feel like every week they've got a pick six that they're dropping. So you believe that they're going to happen. So I think the defense has arrived. I do believe Sirianni's done this year, though. And what's this, week 3 going to week 4? Barring a Super Bowl victory, which isn't going to happen, I don't even think they're going to make it to the NFC title game. I think Sirianni's done. And the question is it going to be Belichick or Vrabel? And if I'm Howie, I don't want Belichick anywhere near my team. So he's probably going to fight for Vrabel. But I believe Sirianni's done. I get a final word on the segment to you. Floor is yours.
I think as long as I'll put a couple things on that. One, I'm worried more about this week against the Buccaneers in terms of because the way the Saints formationally lined up, it allowed the Eagles to use that 5-man line, which gives them an extra defensive tackle, which means Milton Williams, who's playing really well. Thomas Booker, I don't know where he's come from. He's playing really well as well too. It lets you get that extra thing. Now with this Bucks, if they go more nickel, now you can't have that extra defensive lineman out there as much. Now you start. This is where they had the issues against the Falcons, and then had some issues with the Packers. And we see what happened with when you don't have that extra guy. We see what happened with Josh Huff. I was like, Josh Huff. I'm sorry. Ooh, I keep doing that. Bryce Huff. I keep thinking Josh. I'm like, oh, that's a decade ago. Or Bryce Huff, and he's slipping and sliding. Still don't know. They think he's going to police check. He was 3 weeks in. Like that's whole issue itself.
He's about to become a Hassan Reddick. I'm putting that in the air. I'm putting positive energy in the air. Hassan, we made a mistake. We're going to trade for you back. We'll give Huff back to the Jets. We'll take Hassan back, and let's call it even Steven. I know that's highly unlikely.
Detroit.
Look, I understand what you're saying, but they saw something in that line, in that defensive line. They would be foolish to go back to the lineup or go to the alignment that they've struggled with mightily. And at some point at defense, you got to force the action. They've got to force the action. And you got Baker, who's known to give away games when he gets the bell rocked. This is a tough spot for the Eagles, but we'll talk about that for another day. I like the defense though. I like the defense. Huff is. Well, I called it early enough. I saw it in the first couple snaps. Now I want to transition from one guy that's struggling on the defensive side to a rookie quarterback that may be struggling. Do you think Caleb Williams is struggling, or do you think he's just going through the natural maturation of being an NFL quarterback, a rookie NFL quarterback?
I know the guy looked really good in college, and he had the preseason, but just thought that he wasn't going to be like this guy that you
Yeah.
saw. Wow, he's a Pro Bowler. I thought that one too. I still in my heart of hearts think Jake Daniels will have a better career than we'll see with Caleb Williams. And I think the Bears hope I'm wrong big time, but I just see that in there.
Then they need to
It's a
fire
lot of
their
times.
coach.
Yeah,
Then
it's the
they need to
Bears. It's
fire
the
their
Bears and
coach.
offense and the quarterback. I'm like it's
Yeah.
one of those generational things where it's going to. But I look at the way that I think he's pressing. Hey, I think he's trying to press too much on him. He's getting too hard on himself. I think this is one of the things like, hey, listen, relax, rely on your run game,
Mm.
rely on DeAndre Swift to get that. You have the receivers. I think the Chicago is really looking like, oh, we got all these receivers in. We need to throw. No. That's the opposite route. Use Cole Kmet. Use your tight end, which is the quarterback's best friend. Use the run
Yeah.
game and then set up the play action off of that. I just think there was too much pressure, and everybody saw that one game he had in the preseason. And everybody just thought, oh, he's the next pay man. He's
Wasn't
going
a
to be
full
great at it.
game. It was a quarter, right? Quarter in
Yeah,
the preseason. He
everybody,
had a good quarter.
everybody saw it. It's like, this is it. This is it. Now just multiply that over 17 games. No. I feel like he still has some work done. I think he's pressing too much. And I hate to say this, but look at the way the Commanders are using Daniels. They're not putting too much on his plate. They're just letting him be a quarterback, get a feel for the game, and it goes that way. So yeah, I think he'll be fine. I think in the long run, but he'll be all right. But yeah, I didn't see that coming out the gate.
The Chicago head coach, was on the hot seat before Caleb got there. Now he got Caleb, and the perception is he could be a good coach, or we'll see what he can do. This is what he does. Talent is on talent. Coaching only matters when you have talent. Everyone would agree that Caleb Williams has talent. So now we have a coach. We've got a coach who is, dare I say, struggling to get the most, or even to get that talent to be comfortable, because Caleb doesn't look comfortable right now. He looks like he's pressing. I'm not surprised by his struggles at all. I don't think he's struggling. I'm not surprised at his production. I thought the Titans were going to win that game. What I see, though, is a quarterback who doesn't have a clue and a coach who's clueless. Say that again. I see a quarterback right now who doesn't have a clue playing for a coach that's clueless. And you're going to get what you're getting right now. The Bears look wretched on offense. They look awful on offense. But their defense is surprisingly solid. What are they like? They're top 10. They're top 10 in points allowed at 19 a game. So there's a solid defense, but offensively they're the same old Bears. But I don't believe Caleb's struggling. This is the natural progression of most rookie quarterbacks, regardless of where they're picked. Outside of Brock Purdy, regardless of where you're picked, rookie quarterbacks usually come in and struggle. And Purdy he wasn't a rookie when he hit his stride, right? When they finally gave him a shot. I think he was in his second year. I probably should have
Oh,
left that.
I think he was Mr. Irrelevant that year.
Yeah,
Because
was it?
I think I think he was. Oh,
Yeah.
I think he was.
Well, we can
Let
look
me
it up. But
double check.
outside of him, most of your rookies, and Mark Sanchez, dating myself here, Mark Sanchez years ago, most of your rookie quarterbacks struggle when you come in. Now, quarterbacks struggling, teams struggling. Which quarterback led team, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, or Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars? Which quarterback are you more, I don't want to say disappointed in, but which quarterback are you more surprised with is struggling? Team and quarterback, I should say.
I think Trevor Lawrence. And the reason why I
Really?
say Trevor Lawrence, yeah, the reason I know he's not as good as Burrow. I know that draft class that came out was kind of but to have all those weapons that came through, and you know what, in all honesty, I don't think it's all his fault. I think if I put that on Doug Peterson's shoulders and that
Do
Press Taylor.
tell. I'm curious.
I, Doug Press Taylor. There's a reason why Doug's no longer the head coach in Philadelphia, because he
Mm-hmm.
wanted Press Taylor to be his offensive coordinator when he went to see Jeffrey Lurie, and Lurie was like, "No, this is not going to work out." And
Mm-hmm.
each coach has that. each head coach has that guy they think like that's their mentor they want to bring along. Press Taylor coming along with Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, I
Mm,
like the two. And I know, and a lot of times when you look at Trevor Lawrence, he didn't face a lot of adversity when he was at Clemson, and you can't really tell a guy how a guy can really perform until until you can say like, okay, his senior year it wasn't as good as like junior, but I think he hasn't really faced true adversity because
mhm.
there's a reason why it's called Clemsoning for a reason. So you look at that, you're like, all right, see this, and I just think when you look at the way he's played, I think they wasted a lot of his early years, and it really started to affect his progressions and went down the line. Burrow, I think it didn't matter. He's unflappable. He's Joe Cool. I see your face. It's just like, what's going on? But yeah, I think when you look at everything else, I think Trevor Lawrence to me was the more disappointing person on that.
Mm. Interesting. Very interesting. I think they both have been equally overvalued. I never, ever, ever believed in Trevor Lawrence. I don't know why. I I've always questioned him from the outset. When he was at Clemson, I didn't see that franchise. I remember watching Peyton Manning at Tennessee. And the year after Peyton Manning leaves Tennessee, T. Martin, who's now a coach, I think he's with the I think he's a coach with the Steelers, or he could be a coach
Steelers.
someplace. But I remember T. Martin the following year wins the national title with Tennessee, even though Peyton struggled. Peyton didn't do it, and Peyton was struggling his rookie year with the Colts. But you knew Peyton was going to be a monster, and he was going to find a way to compensate for his lack of arm strength. And he didn't have a rocket arm. He had a bazooka instead of a rocket, I guess is the best way to put it. He still had a good arm, but you knew that. I'm trying to think of first overall picks. Baker Mayfield. I never liked Baker Mayfield, but I didn't like Baker Mayfield's decision making. I wasn't sold on his talent, but it was what was between his ears and what was on his shoulders that I had a question with. When I saw Trevor Lawrence, I don't know what I didn't like, but I knew I didn't like it. When I watched the Jacksonville Jaguars play, I don't know why they're struggling. Like you can say it's play calling, you could say it's the coaching, whatever the case may be. Trevor Lawrence is the constant factor. Urban Meyer was a disaster. You say he hasn't faced adversity. I think we can call the Urban days adversity, right? But Urban was a pretty good coach before he got to Jacksonville. And then he lost his marbles, and Lord knows what was going on. He's going at bars and hanging out with, it was but Trevor got a pass because Urban wasn't a good coach in the NFL, so we were told in record. Now, again, Trevor's getting a pass because of coaching. And again, look, talent matters. Coaching matters when you have talent. But wait a minute, Chris Peterson won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. So he has to know a little bit about coaching. He has to know a little bit. He was the guy that put Jalen out early, right? And they
Right.
said he was tanking. And you know better than I was if he was tanking. Maybe he saw something in Jalen. Excuse me. And he wanted to see early with that. Want to get the ball rolling out. We'll never know. But the point is, the man's got a Super Bowl under his belt. He played in the National Football League, and he can't get anything out of Trevor Lawrence consistently. Urban Meyer won 72 titles at Ohio State. I don't know. He won a bunch of titles at Ohio State, won a national championship at Florida, coached Tim Tebow to a national title. Just saying. Aaron Hernandez to a national title. Just saying. Marquise Punty. These are not your stellar assets to the community, including Tebow. But yet he found a way to win with them, but he couldn't get Trevor Lawrence. Dude, and Joe Burrow, I'll save that for another day, but I'm not surprised Joe Cool is struggling either. I think he's another dude that was overvalued. But the Trevor Lawrence thing chafes my hide because when is it ever going to be Trevor's fault? When is it ever going to be Trevor's fault? You tell me.
I think it'll be Trevor's fault when you see this next one because he's getting fired. Doug is getting fired. Like I was listening to
Nah,
Albert Breer.
seriously?
I was listening to Albert Breer, and he was saying they're rattling around, and Belichick
Wow.
might be the sneaky team that goes there because the Belichick apparently had a lot of say in Doug Marrone getting hired. Tony Khan, who's Shah Khan, the owner's son, was talking to him. He talks to Belichick a lot, and he was the one that said, like, "Yeah, you should go with Doug Marrone. You got this." He's helped. He's been around that organization a lot, and apparently he lives down that way, not too far away from there.
Yeah,
So
he
that's
does.
rattling
Yes.
around. So I think that might be. And then the Patriot, not Patriot. He was mentioning the next three games are tough because there's two in the division, and you got the Patriots in London, which the Cons are really important. They're important to them
Yeah.
because they love playing there. So if you still lose all three, like two of those three, yeah, they're. I think the wheels will be turning. There'll be backroom channels saying, "Hey, Bill, if you got your staff together without Matt Patricia, obviously, ha ha ha, then maybe get it, maybe get
Patricia's
this
so
together."
going to be on that staff. Patricia's
Patricia
on
was
that
down there.
staff. Josh, not Childress. What is Josh's last name? Jesus, good grief.
McDaniel's.
McDaniels. I'm
Josh,
calling him Josh Childress. He's not the small forward that played for the Atlanta Hawks back in the day. McDaniels. They're
listen,
all going to be all the boys. Is Bill O'Brien still in a paycheck somewhere? He'll be on the line. He'll be on the team too.
he's
You
coaching
know,
college. Yeah, he's got that. Yeah, but it is Patricia was at the Monday night game with Bill when the Eagles and Falcons.
they were
Patricia
doing
was
a
there.
podcast together. Yeah, he's going to be
Yeah.
there. He's going to be there. Quickly, who's
So
going to be your team that's either 0 or 1-2 that has the best chance of turning around?
we talked about it earlier, and I think it's more of a consistency thing for them getting getting used to the scheme. I think the Atlanta Falcons. I look at them still be.
Ooh.
I think they could be a really good team. We've seen that defense. The
Oh,
back of that defense is good. I think they could be turning around enough that I I look at I'm not feeling the Bucks. I'm not. I'm not a big believer in the Bucks. I think the Falcons can turn it around and still win that division.
mine is going to surprise you. Mine is about to surprise you. I think it's going to be the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh,
They, yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And I'll transition right into it. The Cardinals. I actually like Arizona. They're my layup pick for this week. I like Arizona to cover at home against Washington. They're a 3.5-point favorite. I watched the game against the Bills. They scored 28 points in like the first 2 minutes of the game. They were explosive. They were ready to go. Then they come back against the Rams and they score 41 points, and they're one win. And then they hang tight with Detroit. But they were competitive in a low scoring game. Kyler Murray is not one of my favorite quarterbacks. You know this. I no need to really beat the dead horse on this, but I really like Arizona. And I don't know if this has come out yet, but Hargrove for the 49ers is out for the season. I don't know if it's
yep.
come out yet, but I'm pretty certain he's out for the season. But I'm sorry, likely out for the season. So, the 49ers are 1-2. They're 1-2. Debo's being hurt early. Like, look, I actually like Arizona in that division. And the Seahawks are good. What are the Seahawks? 2-1?
I believe so. Yeah, I think they lost
Yeah.
last week. Yeah.
And obviously the Rams are going to be
Oh,
competitive.
3-0. Sorry.
Yeah.
They're
So
undefeated.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Arizona. Now, when I say turnaround, let me just put clarity here. When I say turnaround, I don't mean they're going to make a playoff run, but I think they're going to win a couple games. I don't think they're going to be a losing team this year. So I gave one of my picks. I like Arizona to cover. I guess I'll jump right into it. A game that I'm very, very, very interested in. Buffalo Bills at the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore is 1-2, and yet the Bills, who are what are the Bills 3-0, are 2.5
Bills.
point
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah.
The two and a
So,
half point dog. Fliff's got them at a 2.5 point dog, and Buffalo looks legit. Josh Allen, as much as I want to say Saquon should be the MVP, Josh Allen is carrying that team. He hasn't made the glaring mistakes that he's made here. But more importantly, he's made the plays, whether it's a short yardage play or a bomb that keeps that game moving, keeps the team competitive, And Baltimore, conversely, gave up a huge lead to Dallas, where Jerry Jones is bemoaning not signing Derrick Henry, in the media. Something smells in Baltimore. Something smells of foul in Baltimore. And it's cheesy, but it ain't the crab cakes. Something stinks in Baltimore right now. And so I actually like the Bills outright to win that game. 2.5 point. Yeah. I ain't gonna win the game. Now,
Ooh.
hopefully, Baltimore proves me wrong and they win, but I don't see it. Something's off in Baltimore. And then I got the Rams at Bears. We touched on the Bears earlier. Bears got a sneaky defense, but the Rams right now are I want to say they're 2.5 point dog, and I don't believe that. I don't believe that. The Rams will be. I like Stafford. Stafford good enough. He's familiar with Chicago. He played there when he was all those years in Detroit, so that won't he won't have any problems there. McVay can find a way to move the ball around, but the bigger thing is Caleb's still a rookie. Caleb's still a rookie, So I definitely like that. Two games though I want to throw at you that are I really, 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 really want to take the Giants this week. The line is going from 8 to 6 to 5.5. Cliff's got him a 5.5 dog against at home in New York City on a Thursday night game with Dallas coming into town. But you know my rule about divisional opponents, so I'm not touching that divisional game. But I really like the Giants in that game. And if I had any chutzpah about me, I'd take them. Another one, the Raiders are favored against the Cleveland Browns. I feel it. Pardon, excuse me. Still got that bug. I feel like someone hasn't watched the Raiders play if they think the Raiders should be ever favored in the game again. But yeah, I actually like Cleveland to win that game. But those are my picks. Like I said, I like Arizona to recap. I like Arizona over Washington. I like Buffalo over the Ravens. And I like the Rams to cover at the Bears. What are your three?
Well, I like the one you. It's funny you mentioned the when it came to the home dog. I'm actually picking the Giants this week because it's not just it's a home dog with that much. You gotta. To me, it's almost like those automatic rules. If it's more than three and it's a home dog at that thing, I'm jumping on it because I
Yeah.
look at the thing that has me worried, really worried about the Giants is that two of their cornerbacks are out and
Mm-hmm.
now you have but I really like Neighbors against Diggs. That's going to be one of the best matches. We're going to get to watch that for the next 3 4 years. It's going to be fun to watch. And
Yeah.
something tells me, even if the Cowboys try to overload that side and try to, if even they Megatron cover him and get the two guys right there at the last, Neighbors to me has just been that thing. And Daniel Jones, for some reason, I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. I
He
ain't saying he's going to
should.
be yeah, he better. I don't think he's going to be a Pro Bowler, but I think he's going to be good enough in that game where that the Giants cover. Maybe even get the outright win that close because something's off in Dallas. It just feels weird in terms of that.
What's off in
Uh,
Dallas? I'm trying to act like you don't know what's off in Dallas. We talked about it all off season. They know what's off
Something's
in
wrong with
Dallas.
Dallas. Jerry Jones. There's something wrong with Dallas. Jerry Jones.
real real quick because I'm gonna let you end the show off with your two picks real quick. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm almost certain that the road team usually struggles in the Thursday night games.
Yeah.
Buffalo won earlier this season in Miami, but normally the road team usually struggles in them Thursday night games. What are your other two picks?
And to add worse to this, I don't know how the heck the Cowboys. This is the first time they actually won a short week on the road on a Thursday night. They have never done. So the league watch out. Yeah, I get that. I look at the Vikings and Packers. I'm taking the Packers on this one. I think the
Really?
best. This sounds really bad, but I think the best thing for the Packers was that they got back and they reverted back to their fundamentals, their base scheme, and everything else. And even with Malik Willis, who surprisingly, well, coaching helps out.
Yeah,
He got out of the
yeah.
Tennessee Titans. Look at this now. He's starting to be the quarterback. He's better than Will Levis. I think
Mhm.
Tennessee would have done that. And look what's happening right now. So, I don't think Sam Darnold sustains. I know he's been playing really well. Everybody's on Sam Darnold. Oh, see, everybody believes in him as a Jets. No, it's time. It's going to revert himself into that. So I look at that as well too.
Pumpkin
And
time for
finally,
Arnold.
yeah, is that Chiefs Chargers? I'm not sure the line. I think that's actually going to be pretty close. I don't think the Chargers win that game at all. I don't. Even with Herbert,
Seven
I
and
know
a half.
Herbert's banged up. Yeah,
Seven
I
and a
take the
half.
charge. It's something about Chiefs Chargers where the Chargers get up and they play well against the team. I know, granted, that was when they all had their wide receivers, like and everybody else, but it's something about them that they just seem to have the Chiefs number and keep playing them up close. I don't think they win outright. I think they cover. I do think they cover in this game.
Chris, you love you some overvalued quarterbacks, boy. Justin Herbert's still quarterback in the Chargers with his high
Yeah,
knee, low
that's even
knee,
with him
high
hurting.
ankle sprain. Yeah,
Out of
exactly.
necessity, now necessity, he ain't gonna get hit. He ain't gonna get hit once you get
Yeah, he
out.
ain't gonna get hit because he ain't gonna play. Either way, I think the Chiefs roll. Chris, I appreciate you, man. That's it for this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share, whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. He's Chris Franklin of NJ.com. I'm Kwame Fisher-Jones. Until next week, we appreciate your time and year. You be easy.